Good morning, sports fans. You're listening to 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio.
This is Eric Hatfield along with Coach Perry Daniels, and we are here to bring you the latest, the greatest, the best, and the most entertaining in high school, college, and professional sports. You are listening to Louisiana All-American Sports.
No Bluegrass review this morning. It's the Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show. I'm Coach Perry Daniels. Eric Hatfield's caught in traffic en route to join me a little later. We're going to get started with high school basketball. Those of you that are in the Baton Rouge area, you know how cold it's been all week, and those folks listening around the country, cold here is about 30 degrees. We had a freeze a couple of nights ago. A lot of basketball games were canceled last night. Some have been rescheduled for today. Some will take place Sunday. Some will take place Monday. Some have been rescheduled as far back as February the 9th. So, high school basketball report may be a little short this week. We've got coming up for you, though, an All-American interview with Nicholas Ruffin out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's going to join us a little later on in the show. Let's get started with the top 10 basketball teams in the Baton Rouge area, according to the Morning Advocate and the Sports Writers. This poll comes out every Tuesday, and no surprise here, the number one ranked team in the Baton Rouge area, regardless of classification, is the District 4-5A Scotlandville Hornets. They're ranked number one with a record of 23-1. The two-time defending state champs are still on a roll with their only loss of the year coming to the Purple Knights of St. Aug out of the New Orleans area. Dutchtown's ranked number two. Again, this poll came out Tuesday evening. Dutchtown did take a loss to Woodlawn, so there may be some adjustments here when this comes out. Dunham is ranked number 3, beat Episcopal in District 6-2A to take the early lead in that district contest. Episcopal may make a charge to try to become the district champs there. West Feliciana doing a phenomenal job in the 3A classification. That's 7-3A, one of the toughest districts in the state. That's the same district with a few other teams that are in this top 10. Right behind West Feliciana at number 4 is Port Allen, who's also in that district. Port Allen has one loss. They have the tremendous point guard, Nick Parker. Their record is 13-6. They went into U-High, beat U-High, and now they have just one loss in the district, and West Feliciana's undefeated in the district, and they have a big contest coming up with Port Allen a little later on, as well as U-High in that district. Coming in at number 6 for the metropolitan area, the top-ranked basketball teams, regardless of classification, we have U-High. U-High ranked number 6, 19-4. Number 7's McKinley. McKinley went into East Ascension last Tuesday and came out of East Ascension with a 3-point victory, which is phenomenal for those Panthers. They take the early lead in District 5-5A here around town. And what's surprising about that is East Ascension's coach has been a nemesis in the Panthers' side for years, even when he went back to when he used to coach in the early 80s over at Lee High School, which is no longer, actually, which is returning as of next year, Lee High in the Baton Rouge area. This coach has always been able to handle the McKinley Panthers very well. He did again this past week, although his team did take a 3-point loss at home to the much talented McKinley Panthers. Coming out at number 8 is tonight's opponent for the Bel Air Bengals, the St. Michael Warriors. They also took a loss Tuesday night. Their loss was actually Monday night, where they lost to Plaquemine, the Plaquemine Green Devils out of Plaquemine, Louisiana. Bel Air travels to St. Michael tonight in a rescheduled game. That game will take place at around 7 o'clock. So my evening is occupied. That's where I'll be, trying to assist the Bel Air Bengals in beating the number 8 ranked team in the area, the St. Michael Warriors. Coming in at number 9 is Madison Preparatory Academy at 14-6. The defending Class B state champs are now in Class 1A. They've lost 6 games. They have a classic going on this weekend, which starts over at Baton Rouge Community Center today around noon. And the Madison Preparatory Academy Chargers will take on WHYR in a later scheduled game. I believe that classic over there starts off with Southern Lab taking on White Castle at 3:30. Como taking on Parkview Baptist at 5. The McKinley Panthers will play Port Allen, which should be a phenomenal game at 6:30. And ending out the night over at the Hall of Fame Classic at the Baton Rouge Community College, WHYR takes on Madison Preparatory Academy. So, rounding out the top 10 is the Terra Trojans, who also play in the same district as St. Michael, the Archangel, and the Bel Air Bengals. So, those are the top 10 teams in the area. Hopefully your alma mater or your favorite school, maybe your son's or daughter's school, makes that ranking. I expect some surprises or some changes come next week. And with the losses that are going to take place tonight, tomorrow, Monday, we should have a different poll when we come back next week. Now, let me kind of bring you up to speed on some of the changes that were made due to the inclement weather. We didn't have school here in Baton Rouge yesterday for those listening around the country. There was no school due to the weather. We just don't know how to handle ice. So I know a lot of you are more familiar with that because you endure it more often. So here's the new schedule for the boys basketball. These games are going to take place today. Dutchtown at Catholic High. They'll play a varsity-only game at 1:15. Patterson will take on Donaldsonville at 4 o'clock. East Ascension goes to Woodlawn at 5. East Iberville will play St. John at 5. Denham Springs goes to Zachary. They're going to play a JV and a varsity game there. The JV game will start at 5. Plaquemine goes to Terra, which has some interest to me. That's a 5:15 game. And Baker will go to Bruley. And rounding out the schedule, the Bel Air Bengals will take on St. Michael, the Archangel. We will play 2 games at St. Michael, the JV game and the varsity game, and we're going to start at 6. So if you want to get out and see some good high school basketball, today is a good day to do it. I know a lot of times people are working on Friday evenings. They're a little too busy to get out and to support high school basketball. Well, tonight, this afternoon, this evening, there are plenty of opportunities to go out and view some really good high school basketball. So, as Eric makes his way from where he is, didn't realize that the interstate closed down, so that's going to add a few minutes to his schedule today. But no problem. I'm going to hold it down. We've got coming up next the interview with Nicholas Ruffin out of St. Pius High School in Atlanta, Georgia. Nicholas Ruffin played in this past Under Armour football game. He is a cornerback, 6'1", 190 pounds. And once we go to break, we'll get Nick Ruffin on the phone, and we will move forward with the Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show. I am glad you are listening. This is 96.9 WHYR LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. We're going to move on to our Southern University segment. Nick Ruffin is standing by. We're having some phone issues there, and it is pretty much operator error. I'm certain. So as soon as we can, we'll get that interview ready for you and play it on the air. Should be very interesting. Here's a Under Armour All-American out of Atlanta. His dad grew up in the Baton Rouge area, graduated from McKinley High, gracious enough to grant us an interview, and I'll make sure that we execute that. But let's move on. Last week, our Southern University Jaguars took their first SWAC defeat of the season, losing to Mississippi Valley in a rescheduled basketball game. Mississippi Valley beat Southern University there in Mississippi Valley. Keep in mind now that this game was rescheduled due to a bomb threat. Southern University was headed there to play and got the call that there was a bomb threat on the gym, so the Mississippi Valley Devils decided that they would reschedule the game out of safety for the players as well as safety for the fans. And it looks like they got a little bit more practice in because they were able to beat Southern 72-64 to give the Southern University Jaguars their first loss of the conference season. Tonight, Southern plays Alabama A&M at the F.G. Clark Activity Center. Game time starts at 5:30. You may want to get out there and support those Jags as they try to bounce back from their first loss of the season in SWAC play. Very unusual position for them because they've run through the SWAC for the past couple of years. I don't think they've lost a SWAC game since early in the season last year. Unique position for them bouncing back from a SWAC loss. So hopefully they can do that. Maybe you guys can get out there and support them and root them on, and the Jaguars can continue on their march to the SWAC championship. Across town, our LSU Tigers, wow, they've been on a roll. Go LSU, great job. Vanderbilt came into town. They beat the Commodores handedly. The Missouri Tigers came to town. Again, the team that I picked to win the SEC basketball tournament and regular season championship. LSU defeated them here at home. So the Tigers are on a roll. The Missouri Tigers are in trouble. I don't know what's going on with that program. I'm a little shocked. Hopefully they'll work out, but we do know that the LSU Tigers are on a roll. They should be seated very well in the SWAC, in the Southeastern Conference tournament. So we're going to try to transition here. I'm going to go to a music break, and then when we come back, we'll see if we can get Nick Ruffin back on the phone and get that phone call and interview going. Thank you, folks, for listening to the Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show. Isn't a typically smooth morning as we normally have. However, it is a good morning anytime you can talk about sports and bring the community up to speed on what's going on.
And we can never quite be as smooth as the gentleman behind us, Noel Jackson, with Music Satisfaction. But we're going to try to smooth it out right now. We got a little sandpaper in our hands, and we will be back very shortly for an abbreviated version of the Louisiana All-American Sports Show that you become used to. But Perry, give this guy a standing O, and what do you call it when you come out of the dugout there in baseball? A curtain call for holding it down. This has been a very unusual morning. I got local advisories for all of y'all out there. If you have somewhere to go today, you really need to allow a lot of time. Interstate 10 is completely closed down, and even if you don't plan on taking I-10, if you plan on using any thoroughfares that are near I-10, they're going to be very, very backed up. Essen Lane was like a parking lot. Perkins near Acadian was very, very bunched up. You got to allow some extra time. Also, if you parked your car outdoors, allow at least 10 minutes to thaw out any ice that might be on the windshield, on your sides. There's still, even though it's not freezing anymore, the after effects are still trickling over today and this morning. I'm living proof of that. A typical 10 to 15 minute drive took me 40 minutes today. So you don't want to be in that boat, but listen to your old pal Eric Hatfield giving you traffic and weather advisory today here on Louisiana All-American Sports. So we are back here on Louisiana All-American Sports. We are waiting for our interview to come up very shortly. We've been having a plethora of technical issues today. It's just a really technical Saturday. But let's
Nick, I got you.
go over what we've had. Okay, we got our caller live and on the air. So let's get him rocking and rolling. Nicholas Ruffin, correct?
Correct.
All right, Mr. Ruffin, can you hear us? Oh, we didn't get him on call.
Ah!
Oh, we are just the cat's meow today, folks. But it's Mr. Ruffin
That's
again.
him. All right, man.
All right, he should be able to hear us now. Can you hear us? All righty. Good morning, sir. Thank you for being so patient with us today.
Hey, man, Nick, I want you to know that this isn't the usual mode of operation for us, man. All right, we really appreciate you joining us. Hey, man, let's jump right into this thing. First of all, you have committed. I've informed the folks about you that that you're a 6'1", 190-pound cornerback out of St. Pius High School in Atlanta, Georgia, and you have committed. Would you please let the folks know where you have committed to play your college football?
I've committed to play college football at Auburn University.
At Auburn University. Now, Nicholas, tell us why Auburn.
There's a lot of reasons that went into it. Mostly, first and foremost for me, it was education. Because, like everybody knows, football will end one day. Second for me came from the fan base. Was I accepted? Did they take me as I am, or did they want me to change who I was? Also came just the tradition, and then last but not least, the coaches.
Okay. Now, what are you planning on majoring in at Auburn University?
Either wireless or mechanical engineering.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to hear someone coming out of high school is already thinking about the end game to the NFL. Now, let's talk a little bit about the coaches and what impacted you regarding the coaching staff in choosing Auburn University.
The biggest thing for me was they were men of faith. They definitely made that known, and they made that evident every time they spoke to you and every time they spoke to my family. A big thing for me was when I visited there, when I sat down with Coach Malzahn and my PCD coach, Coach Smith, and Coach Harbison. They spoke to my life. They didn't just speak about what they wanted me to do on the field or what they were trying to promise me when I came there. They wanted to speak to my life and who they wanted me to be when I left. I didn't get that anywhere else. Everywhere else was strictly football. They spoke to me what they wanted me to be as a man, not just a player.
I hope you recruiters and scouts out there heard that.
Now, yeah, right. Now, we're in Baton Rouge, huge LSU country. Tell us this. Was LSU ever considered seriously?
Definitely. Early on, they were definitely considered. My mother and my father, really my entire family is from Baton Rouge, right around the corner, really. So growing up, that was definitely the school for me. So when they first offered, I definitely considered it heavily. I almost really wanted to commit right there. My mom kind of stopped me and said, no, let's explore all of our options before we make that decision.
Awesome. Now, tell me this, man. I went to school with your dad. Does he ever talk about his high school football playing days?
On occasions, he's brought it up. Sometimes you'll get the occasional, or when I was in high school, I would do boys and then step out of bounds. You get the glory days stories occasionally, but it's all good fun.
What do you say about the quarterback?
Actually, he became the quarterback.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm a couple of years ahead of him, and I played quarterback prior to him. So that's awesome, man. We really appreciate you joining us. Give your dad and your mom the best. Good luck to you at Auburn up until the LSU Tigers come to town. We wish you the best. Hey, man, once you graduate and start making that big money whether it's engineering or the NFL, remember us at WHYR and the Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. That is a bright. I was really impressed with that young man. That kid has his head screwed on really, really well.
He really does, man. Nicholas Ruffin, great job. And Demetrius, man, you have done a fantastic job with that young man, as well as your wife. You guys should be really proud of the young man that you've raised.
So, right now, that was a great job by that young fella. As I said, if you have somewhere to be, you need to allow a 20-minute buffer. Otherwise, you're going to hear me say, "I told you so," as I told you so this morning. But what you will get to hear, as we do every week, is last week where we said, "I told you so," and you can tell us, "I told you so." So enjoy this big dose of open mouth insert foot here on Louisiana All-American Sports.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
They have Missouri, and that's here in Baton Rouge. I think they win that game just because Missouri's been struggling, and I think
win both of these games.
they could. I mean, they really could. I guess I will say I really have a bad feeling Vanderbilt's going to win that game today, just because of the momentum factor, and LSU's confidence has got to be kind of meandering a little bit after that loss last week. And then this afternoon, the Pittsburgh Panthers in the ACC going out to take on Syracuse. I'll just go on record and say I expect the Orange to win that game and win it big. I'll believe they're going to lose in the Carrier Dome when I see it with my own two eyes.
Right, I'm with you on that one.
Noel Jackson, music satisfaction. The last month, really, he doesn't quite seem like himself, and Kaepernick does seem like himself, and they do have Michael Crabtree this go-around. I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers.
You picked this game last week. We both did.
Yeah.
You know, because you picked the 49ers and New England to make it to the Super Bowl, and I picked Seattle and New England.
Yeah, one of us is going to be right.
But both of these championship games are being hosted in states that have legalized recreation.
The fans. Conspiracy by the NFL to get the fans happy, to get the munchies, start purchasing some more concessions. But
we could have our first weed bowl.
This game, let me say this, I'm not expecting a blowout. This game can swing either way, but I think that the Patriots will have just enough to win this game and go to the Super Bowl, and I think they're going to, they're going back to their turf. They'll be playing the San Francisco 49ers, at least. My projection, but hey, I will never count out Peyton Manning.
No, I expect Peyton Manning to play a great game and the Denver offense to do what it does. However, I don't think their defense will be able to come up with the necessary stops against Brady to pull out the victory. So, I'm sticking with New England here.
So, with all those projections, I got to say the only one that was really right was Perry picking Seattle. I went 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out, like in the cartoons or something like that. So, regardless, though, we have some exciting action coming up with the Super Bowl. Seattle and Denver, #1 seeds in both respective conferences. You're probably getting the chalk Super Bowl, if you will. You're getting the Super Bowl that everybody, quote unquote, expected. I believe, if my memory is not too hazy, this is the first time since Super Bowl 44 with the Saints and the Colts in which both #1 seeds ended up in the big game. So that's going to be really good. I think we got a lot of sports coming ahead. We have the Pro Bowl coming up tomorrow. This is kind of the calm before the storm because next week, get ready.
Yeah, man, let's talk about that a little bit, man. What do you think about the new format with the Pro Bowl?
Here's the thing. The Pro Bowl in and of itself was like a patient on ICU. So, you got to do something, I guess, to shake it up. I don't know how I feel about this Team Sanders, Team Rice bit. I do think the one benefit is for the players. I think if you are a professional football player, even if you're the best of the best, and two Hall of Famers are picking you like some kind of playground contest for their team, I do think that adds an extra bit of motivation.
It really is playground, where Drew Brees was drafted first.
Right, exactly. And that's really cool, And I think Andrew Luck was the first to go on Jerry Rice's team, if I remember correctly.
No, actually, he went with the running back.
Oh, he went with, so he went,
from Kansas City.
He went with Jamal Charles. So we have, I like, for the sake of the players being motivated, I think that's good, because if you've watched the traditional AFC, NFC format the last few years, it's almost like a flag game. Nobody's trying to get hurt. The rules are, make it like a game of touch football where you can pass all over. You can't blitz. They're so restrictive, and you have these basketball scores at the very end. So I think the players will be more motivated. I think we'll see a better brand of football. I still like the traditional AFC versus NFC rivalry, but if the trade-off is that the players are more motivated, they want to impress these Hall of Famers, that put some confidence in them, that chose them, then I'm all in favor of that. There's no getting around that. So I'm looking forward to seeing the game. I think it's probably going to be a disaster, but not a disaster. I just don't think it's going to be much better than we've seen before. But I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last. So we have, I believe we have a caller. We have a lady on the phone who's going to tell us a little bit about what ladies like to hear or think about when they are watching sporting events. So.
Mine took it from you, and now you slot mine exact to my own dog. I'm on the
All right, here we go. Again, for those of you first-time listeners, this is a segment that we call the 5 things that ladies were thinking about while watching sports this past week. And we have a young lady who's a friend of the show. She's going to run down the top 5. We're going to start with number 5.
Why can't all Super Bowl games be played in the Superdome so I can wear my miniskirt and heels?
All right. Number 4.
Can Richard Sherman cover me as well as he covered Michael Crabtree?
Okay. Number 3.
I wonder if both Seattle and Denver, after legalizing marijuana, can put enough blueberry kush in the Super Bowl for us all to get a contact while watching the game.
Number 2.
I just want to know why fine tight end Kellen Winslow Jr. didn't call me when he was lost. I shot that target. I could have helped him out.
And the number 1 thing that was on women's mind while watching sports this past week.
Does Peyton Manning have a side piece in Nebraska somewhere? Or maybe that's her name. Omaha. Really?
We thank you for giving us the top 5 things that were on a woman's mind while watching sports this past week.
Thank you.
5.
Got mine, took it from you, and now you slot mine exact to my own dog. I'm on the
Oh boy, that was rich, man. Omaha! Omaha! That even sounds like a dancer's name too. Huh?
It does.
Shoot, man, Mrs. Manning better watch out. Olivia and Archie better talk to him before he ends up coughing up half. Anyway, so yeah, look, we got The Super Bowl coming up. If you want to get in on the conversation, 343-9927, 343-9927 to get in on the Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show and talk about the big event we have coming up. So, in the NFC, you swung and got a solid single. On the AFC, we both grounded into double plays. Yeah, that was boy. I not only did New England not win, which I think we all knew it was a possibility. You never count out Peyton Manning, but they got beaten down. Did they only have 6 points, if I remember? Did they score a touchdown at all in that game?
I believe they did. I think they ended up with 16.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. My bad. But that was brutal.
It was. And you know what? It's starting to look like that New England is happy with getting to the championship.
Oh, I don't know, Perry. I look at Belichick and look at Brady. I don't think they're happy at all. I think they're just stuck. I think you know what I call it? I call it football god karma. You see, Spygate took the veneer, that corporate image that they had, this pristine, the Patriot way, blah, blah, blah.
So tell me this, though. Is that why the Saints ended their season in Seattle? Bountygate, the karma?
I think the Saints got their karma in 2012 when they didn't have a coach or a GM or an assistant. I mean, they just they took that season and yanked it away from them. So
they did.
I don't know that it's karma. I think Seattle was just better, but hopefully that's the last of the Bountygate karma. I mean, if that's the case, we have been punished enough. My goodness gracious. So, but I'll tell you, you don't mess with karma. You don't mess with karma. So we got two teams. We got the Denver Broncos, and in the NFC we have the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seattle Seahawks, seem to got a lot of attention, and one Seattle Seahawk in particular, wittingly or not, got a lot of attention. If you weren't in a coma or in a cave, you may have been treated to this at the end of the NFC Championship game on Sunday. And, here you go.
Let's send you down to the field and Aaron Andrews.
Joe, thank you so much. Richard, let me ask you the final play. Take me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Who was talking about you?
Crabtree, don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm going to shut it for you real quick. LOB.
All right, and Joe, back over to you.
All right, well, we saw...
Richard Sherman lost his mind with Aaron Andrews after the game on Sunday, but it sparked a conversation. That 17-second rant sparked more discussion and conversation than I would have ever imagined. You had some people that take to Twitter. Twitter can be the best thing in the world. It can be the worst thing in the world. It can be the best thing in the world because you can interact with anyone, anytime, anywhere. I mean, we can literally talk to famous people in one manner or another, but it can be the worst thing because there's no filter, right. And so you have people that are going to come out of the woodworks with your typical, with your ugly statements, some racist things. Of course, you have people taking to the internet, taking to Twitter to call him a thug over and over again, which I thought was interesting because I always thought a thug was a criminal, say like Aaron Hernandez, for example, people that commit crimes, as opposed to a guy who was running a little hot and running his trap when he was full of adrenaline. I didn't know they had... I guess Richard Sherman and all of his Stanford honors graduate buddies that he hangs out with are probably going out planning on how to knock off banks. Or maybe there's some white-collar crime like Bernie Madoff I'm unaware of. He's more of a thug than I thought of. But nonetheless, you had that. But it also... because Richard Sherman is a bright guy, he did go to Stanford, he's a smart dude, when he had a chance to respond to all the criticism and apologize, you really saw what a bright, insightful, intelligent dude. This is a sharp cookie. I don't think he wanted to make it about himself. You put a microphone, and anyone who's played sports knows this, when you just have that adrenaline going, you are fired up, and this is a guy in the biggest stage, in the biggest event in the world. He just was less than 60 seconds removed from helping send his team to the Super Bowl, and he is charged up, and he already runs hot to begin with. So, I don't, I think, in my opinion, you don't talk about another player. That's just my 2 cents. But beyond that, I don't have that big of a problem, with under the circumstances what happened, but people are going to think what they may.
Right, not at all. Actually, Eric, the life that those 17 seconds have taken in 6 days is more of a commentary on who we are as a society than Richard Sherman.
Right.
Because immediately, like you said, the thug label and all of that came out and placed on him. And I'm just wondering if this guy isn't dreaded up, if he doesn't have dreadlocks.
How about this? Perry's so politically correct. If he was white, is what he's saying. If he was Tiger Woods,
then you don't have this conversation or those labels.
Oh no! I mean, Richard Sherman said it, and Jim Rome talked about it at length, and I agree with it. That T-word thug is just a way that some people try to gift wrap and pass off the N-word, but you're not fooling anybody.
That's exactly
if we're talking about, let's say, Aaron Hernandez, who allegedly killed up to 3 people, okay, yeah, that's
different.
Yeah, that's in context.
Even our guy in Miami who
oh God, Richie Incognito.
Richie Incognito.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a thug?
Right, golly. And Richard Sherman pointed this out. You had an NHL game between Vancouver and I want to say it was Calgary. I think it was definitely the Canucks were involved. But anyway, both teams sent their goon squad. You have 3 lines in hockey: your starting line, your backup line, and then your third line is like your enforcer line.
Okay.
Both teams who have some hot blood with each other started their goon lines. The minute the puck dropped, they started fighting. They knew what they were going to be doing. That's thuggery.
And no one has said, "Oh, those thugs."
Right. Goons maybe, Neanderthals. I mean, they've definitely been criticized, but you don't hear the T word, which again tells me it's just that when used in that context, when you're talking about basically a black guy that you don't like or did something controversial, but he didn't break the law. To me, the T word's another use for the N word. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling anybody else. It's my opinion.
Right.
And even if I'm wrong about that, there's a perception out there. And like we said on the show a few weeks ago during Bullygate with Incognito, you have to be accountable for what you say. So even if you think you have the best intentions, understand that people may perceive what you say differently. I'm sure there are people that don't like what I'm saying right now, but I'm going to say it. Area code 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927 if you'd like to throw me under the bus and get in on the conversation.
And you know what, Eric? There may be a football player who may fit that label of thug who's in the news that used to wear the black and gold, a former safety.
Yeah.
If those allegations are true that are being alleged against Darren Sharper, then he meets that definition.
Boy, that just, all I can say is I hope it's not true, because he was such a, we always get, sports fans and sports talk people like ourselves sometimes get hooked into man worship. I'm no different, but Darren Sharper was a very vital part of that Super Bowl winning team and capped off what was already a borderline Hall of Fame career. I really hope it's not true, because
can you kind of fill our listeners in on what took place?
Sure, absolutely. Darren Sharper, I don't have a whole lot of details. I do know that last Saturday I'd seen some information go across the Twitter sphere, and there's Twitter again. That's why it could be the best thing in the world. You get information very quickly. But I saw some flashes across Twitter and got some text messages that Darren Sharper was booked on a sexual assault. I believe it was a simple rape was what he was booked with. Don't have a lot of details beyond that, but that in and of itself is very damning. That's a very serious crime, and I really hope that, it's a misunderstanding, or, who knows? You don't know. I don't want to speculate or be irresponsible. I just hope that's not the case.
That's right.
But that would be thuggery.
And on Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show, we we insist on not convicting athletes based on press readings.
Right, right.
So we don't know if it's true or not.
I sincerely hope not, but that was really disappointing to hear about, and let's just let the process play out and see what happens. We can't control what we cannot control. But Richard Sherman definitely went center stage with those comments. I do think it had a good discourse going. I think it was TV and radio gold. I mean, that week leading between the Super Bowl, strike that. The week between the conference championship games and the Pro Bowl was often one of the most humdrum in sports. You hear the same old stuff with the mayors of both cities offering a turkey or a ham sandwich or whatever it is. And
oh, wow, I wonder what they're betting this year. Because when the Rams went, the owner bet a case of Budweiser or whatever, since they're from St. Louis. The Saints bet, some seafood or something. I I wonder what Seattle and Denver mayors are betting each other.
Let's think a product for consumer consumption that is indigenous to the local area, stuff you can't get too many other places.
That's right.
Gee, I don't know. You know, I'm just thinking that Poulan, that had the used to have the Poulan Weed Eater Bowl. They have got to get in. At least the commercial or two with Seattle and Denver playing. I mean, they got to have some fun with that. So yeah, some Alabama Kush could be in the pipeline. I don't know how they're going to transfer it, but it's going to be in the pipeline. 343-9927, 225-343-9927 if you'd like to get in on the conversation. So let's talk about a little football now. The football, the X's and O's aspect of it. You got Seattle Seahawks defense that is just they've always been very, very good. Their secondary has always been outstanding. Their front seven has been solid. They seem to be playing better than ever right now. They really bottled up the 49ers. Granted, they were at home. I get all that, but still, they really bottled up the San Francisco 49ers, who were on a roll, especially with Michael Crabtree, a sorry receiver like Crabtree, back in the lineup. They got into it, and man, Seattle just looked really good, and Russell Wilson seemed to get enough of his mojo back to be moving the ball. He wasn't throwing first of all, he wasn't throwing the ball much and wasn't throwing it well when he did throw it. He only had 103 yards passing against the Saints. That was not going to get the job done. He seems to have shaken his rust off and gotten his mojo back. So I don't know, Seattle. What do you think about the Seahawks and just what you saw last week?
Well, one, Pete Carroll's an outstanding coach, and I'm a coach guy. I look at how coaches get their teams to respond. And he has done a fantastic job of motivating those Seattle Seahawks, assembling an immense amount of talent, and they are performing really well. I just like what they've got going on there. I
do too. They're really impressive. With the Saints and all, my view as a fan of the Seahawks has become a little personal. I was actually debating. My younger brother knows how much I've loathed the New England Patriots ever since they benched Drew Bledsoe and inserted Tom Brady, and then followed that up with the Tuck Rule game. I've had a vendetta against the Patriots for the last 12 years. So my brother always teases me about that because I still haven't let it go. A dozen years later.
Hold on to some things.
That's what makes me a fan. There's some things that'll never come out of my system. I remember saying to my brother, I'm tempted to actually root for New England. I found Seattle so distasteful. Fortunately, I don't have that conundrum. I will definitely be rooting for my man Peyton Manning, who I like a lot, and I really want to see him be successful. But it's hard, but as a sports, I don't want to say a sports analyst, but say somebody trying to be objective, it's hard to not like what those Seahawks are doing. They got a really good game. They have complete components, and then you have that X factor, the beast, Marshawn Lynch.
Right.
Now, the Denver Broncos, that team is loaded, and I'll tell you right now, I expect the Broncos to win the game on Sunday. I think that Super Bowl 48 was gift wrapped for the Broncos. The way that they played against the Patriots, even without Von Miller and without Chris Harris Jr., they plugged in their insertable parts. John Fox knew what to do, and his assistants, his staff, knew what to do and how to adjust. They were a step ahead of Brady and Belichick the whole time. And Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for New England, that had to frustrate them to no end. And they bottled New England up, and then Peyton Manning with his weapons, he just, Eric Decker, boom, Demaryius Thomas, boom, Julius Thomas, bang. Wes Welker didn't really get in on that much of the action, except for when he karate chopped Aqib Talib. But, and of course, Bill Belichick expressed his 2 cents on that. That sounds like some thuggery to me, Perry. But, Peyton Manning is loaded. They didn't even really get, Sean Moreno didn't really even have to be that smart bomb that the Broncos often have.
Right. We're making our picks this week?
Oh, why not?
I noticed that you just did.
Oh yeah, I guess I did. I'm taking the Denver Broncos in this game. Go ahead, Barry. Sometimes I just can't stop talking. I just keep on going.
Well, you know what? But what else is going through my mind, Eric, is we've got to predict some college basketball games, and we're not going to have an "I told you so" next week.
Oh Lord, no. Well, let's look at our LSU Tigers. I definitely swung and missed on the Vanderbilt game, and actually they hammered Vanderbilt pretty badly.
Hammered Vanderbilt. They followed that up with a good win over Missouri.
Yeah, they did. That was solid. Now tonight they have the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're playing in Tuscaloosa, and that game is going to be on ESPN2 if you're listening out there. Man, LSU, it's almost like the Ole Miss embarrassment shook them up, but the fact of the matter is LSU's won 3 of 4. I'm a little hesitant, I'm very cautiously going to pick LSU. Like my better half is telling me pick Alabama, mainly because they're on the road and the teams are so similar and they have good coaching down there in Alabama.
Yes, they do.
But LSU's riding a little bit of a hot streak. Tigers, don't make a fool out of me. I'm going to pick the LSU Tigers against the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I'm going to be rooting with you, but I'm going to pick against you.
I can't blame you. I definitely don't think you're smoking rope on that one. I'm telling you, my gut is telling me Bama, but I'm going to go with LSU and hope they prove me right. And then they have a game in which I do not think they're going to win, even though they are at home in the Maravich Assembly Center on Tuesday, January 28th at 8 o'clock. On ESPN, that's ESPN1, they're going to have the Kentucky Wildcats coming to visit. And, of course, that's going to mean Coach Calipari's coming on down and their main man, Julius Randle. And I will be taking the Kentucky Wildcats in that contest.
Of course, the Big Blue's in my blood. So, yes, I think Kentucky will win that.
Yep. So, what do we have? I wish I, had time to cue up the na. But I know we have some top 25 games on CBS and other college basketball venues coming up today. But with 3 minutes left, by the way, coming up at 12 o'clock, as we always do, we have Noel Jackson, Music Satisfaction, coming up in about 2.5 minutes here on 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio. So, I know we have some college action.
Florida State's taking on Duke. That game's going on right now.
And looks like the Dukies, it's already at halftime. I was going to say I'm taking Duke, but I'm looking at the score right now. It's already a savage beatdown. Duke's already up 18 points at the half, so I guess I don't have to pick that. Number 10, Iowa playing Northwestern. They're also at the half. Iowa, really, they've crept up. It looks like I backed the wrong team from the state of Iowa because it's the Iowa Hawkeyes now in the top 10. But they're battling with Northwestern. They're only up 6 at the half. In other top 25 action, Kansas State and Iowa State. Kansas State's on the way up. Iowa State's kind of on the way down. I've pretty much jinxed them after giving DeAndre Kane my seal of approval. He went and got injured. Then they lost the next game. Then they lost again. I'm going to go and take Iowa State. They're at home, so I'm going to take the Iowa State Cyclones to get back on the horse and beat the Kansas State Wildcats today. That game coming up actually in about 45 minutes. I believe that's going to be on ESPNU. I'm not sure, but I'm taking the Cyclones in that one. Not a whole lot of other tight matchups coming on. A lot of them are pretty one-sided. Kentucky is going to host Georgia today. I'm taking Kentucky all the way in that. Syracuse
and Miami. That should be a good game.
It should be a good game, and they're at Miami. They're not in the Carrier Dome. I'm still taking the Orange, though they haven't lost yet. I don't see that happening. Now, they did have an injury, though. I believe his name is Jawan Coleman, I want to say his name is. They had a key injury for the Syracuse Orange, and he might be out for the season. Now, it's not C.J. Fair, and that's not Jeremy Grant, so, it's not one of their big scorers, but nonetheless, that's not good.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Michigan State, Michigan. And they're playing now. I'm going to take Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans, but Michigan is playing some really good basketball also. Tim Hardaway Jr. is trying to go out on a roll, I think. So I don't know, Perry. Michigan State, Michigan. You got a read in that one?
Yeah, man. Again, I'm a coaching guy, and I just think Tom Izzo's one of the best. So yeah. I'm going to take Michigan State in that game.
You got Gary Harris and Keith Appling from Michigan State. They're on a roll, and I think it's going to be really tough to deal with. So anyway, that is all the time that we have left. We have Noel Jackson coming up in just a moment, and
ADT, JNS, love you.
And as we always say around this time, have a good afternoon.